Oh god, it's Groundhog's Day! This is Matt State of Flux here with another Friday the 13th review. Just like the movies, I feel like I'm stuck in a never-ending loop that just never ends. They're all the same. My god. This is Friday the 13th, the final chapter, and boy folks, don't we wish it were! This is the worst of the first four movies, and I didn't think it was possible to get worse than the the second one. The second one, as morally reprehensible and sexist and disgusting as I found that movie, it had elements of watchability. It had a replay value to it to some minute extent. This movie is damn near unwatchable. And that's saying something, because this movie has Crispin Glover as one of the stars, and I like Crispin Glover. He's an enigmatic but watchable character on screen, and boy, I hated every goddamn second that he was on this screen. As well as Corey Feldman, who I kind of like, even though he's kind of a figure in his own right. My god, this is horrible. And the thing is it lulls you into a false sense of security. The first 5 minutes of this movie are actually not too bad. After you get past the recap and it picks up on Saturday the 14th, we're not even on Friday the 13th anymore, guys, dear God. But once you pick up immediately at the end of the third movie and stuff, there's like a cinematic quality to it. Like it picks up with a helicopter and swoops down and the camera has a life to it. All of that goes away once they get to the morgue. Once they get to the hospital and the morgue and all that stuff, it becomes just as lifeless and trashy as the whole rest of this movie. There is nothing good about it. It has elements that have a nugget of quality to their idea that will be utilized in later movies. The brother who's trying to avenge his fallen Sandra from the second movie is like the main plot of the Friday the 13th remake, which is its own thing that we'll get to some Friday the 13th down the future. Like, that has an interesting quality, and a whole movie that you could hang around that, and it goes nowhere. Nothing. It's poorly shot through most of the film. I don't know who shot that opening bit, but they either expended all their budget getting that opening, panning shot and stuff and weaving in and amongst the chaos of the previous film. They either blew their budget on that, or somebody else shot it, and I'm convinced of that, because nothing else in the film reflects the quality of that moment. Speaking to one of the few qualities this film does have, I like the energy of Jason in this film. I know that's somewhat of a controversial thing. People don't like the fast-moving Jason, but I like that. It adds a little weight of humanity to it, which is something that I hear they were trying to pull away from the film. But whatever. I was struggling and grasping at trying to find things to like. None of the characters, not a single one of them, is even remotely likable outside of the kid. But even the kid is like a horned up little greaseball to some extent. And this movie is just not for me. But the weirdest thing about it is, this is one of the most beloved of the franchise. Now, it does go a long way in saying that I'm not a fan of the Friday the 13th franchise by and large. I think there's a handful of watchable entries, but by and large they are terrible films. So the fact that this is one of the most beloved ones for franchise followers, and I'm not a fan of it, does speak volumes. But this is artless, and I cannot stand it. And I don't know why Jason became a thing. He's not scary. This film is completely void of scares, just as the previous ones were. This one's shot a little, or lit a little better than the previous one, but the previous one had, the whole 3D angle of it, and in order to do that, you do have to overlight things. So there was a reason why that movie had an overlit quality to it. This one captures the lighting again from those first two entries, but the tone is all over the place. It's trying to be zippy and funny at certain times, none of which lands, especially like the weird Crispin Glover dance. Like, then it's trying to be serious and dramatic with the guy who's going to avenge his sister, and then it is trying to be sinister and scary, but like, it's not, and it's terrible, and I don't know why this franchise existed beyond this. However, this was the hump that the franchise needed to get over in order to start getting better movies down the pipeline. Say what you will about the fifth one, and I will review that next Friday the 13th. But there is an original grain of thought with that film that I think is somewhat compelling. There is a neat early meta stage of horror with the sixth movie. And the seventh movie pits Jason against somebody who arbitrarily has power just as arbitrarily he does. The eighth one takes it to a brand new location. The ninth one sends him to hell in the most perplexing kind of way, but it's also kind of stimulating to thought and mind. Then he goes to space, and then he fights Freddy, and then he gets remade. But all of them tickle my brain in some way. The problem with these first four entries is essentially the first one is its own movie that kind of works. The sequels are all reinterpretations of that same exact movie, repeated over and over and over again. The same kills, the same slicing, the same style of storytelling, to the point where you feel like any of these movies could be interchangeable. It's Groundhog's Day, and this is finally the loop that breaks it. The darkest before the dawn moment. And I guess that's where I'll leave it. I hated this movie. This gets the no stars. I can't give it any qualities outside of eventually it ended and I lived through it. But I despise this film. It's a film I've only seen twice now. I hated it the first time I saw it, and I hate it now. Yeah, I don't get why fans of the franchise have adoration for this film at all, outside of it has a relatively sizable kill count. But the kills aren't even that good! I'm over it. I'll stop talking. This coming Friday the 13th, you will get a review for Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. And I'm kind of excited to talk about that, because that one enters into a line of horror that I think, or franchise horror specifically, that I think is kind of interesting and compelling. And we'll talk about that when the time comes. But thanks for sticking it out with me for these last couple Friday the 13th day reviews. Perplexingly not taking place on Friday the 13th. Jason's birthday has already come and gone. I'm curious to know what month he would have been born in. Like, that's why she was killing, right, Pamela? It was Jason's birthday. So, probably June, right? June is when campers go out, so June 13th. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.